Hello, my friends. Welcome to today's IG Live. I'm so excited that we are going to have these 30 minutes with my new friend, Jessica Janzen. I'm calling Jessica my friend, and I hope she agrees. She's a fellow Calgary girl as well. Jessica's originally from Winnipeg, but has been living in Calgary since her early 20s, and I love Calgary girls. I'm a Calgary girl myself. I'm going to welcome Jess to the chat, and we're going to answer your questions. So please, if you are Jessica Janzen, and tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're joining us from today on this beautiful Thursday. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, friend. I totally consider you a friend. I feel like after you have an in-depth conversation and you're like, of course we are. Can I just say, I had every intention of I went to the gym and I was like, okay, I can spray some dry shampoo. And this is where the state of my hair is at because I had all these tech issues and I was like, dang, I wish I would have done my hair, but you're getting messy bun
No,
crazy
but
today.
I just like your hair looks fantastic. Okay, listen, my daughter Sadie does this all the time. She puts her hair, she's able to put her awesome long hair in a bun like you are. I just can't do it. I've got look, fine hair. No, it just doesn't work. So I love the bun.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
good.
here we are.
Here we are.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to hold up your book, Jessica. I have been talking about this book all week with my best friends and my boyfriend and just everybody that I talk to. I'm just like, I love Jessica Janzen. I love
Oh,
what you are doing in this world. Your book is called Bring the Joy: How Following the Nudges of Your Heart Leads to an Abundant Life. And you are a motivational speaker. You speak all over the country. And do you speak in the US as
I'm
well, Jess?
speaking of Mexico, and I love it
Ah,
because it's a women's wellness retreat. So, if there's anyone that wants to bring me to Hawaii, Morocco,
let's
like
do
the
this. Put it
Maldives,
out there. Put it out there.
I go
Like, where do you want
anywhere.
to go?
And I
Right?
will say, I do a lot of small towns. They are the most amazing groups because they are so grateful and so invested. So, I mean, I'll go anywhere in the dead of winter, but I do prefer hot destinations.
I love it. Just put it out there. That's great. Um, okay. So let's get through the questions. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. And I'm watching the chat. So those of you that want to ask Jessica a question, like, can you please just do it? Because we've got these 27 minutes and it goes by so fast. And this is the opportunity. Like, this is why we do this every week,
I
is so
love
that
it.
people can actually ask you, like, they're never going to get this opportunity unless they go to one of your, your speeches to do this. So here we go. All right. How do you cultivate joy when when the weight of decisions, finances, and parenting feels heavy?
So you sent me these questions yesterday. Did I look at them? No. And then I just opened them right before we went live and I was like, dang, these are some tough questions. And I almost wish I wouldn't have looked at them because I'm better on the fly. So here's what I will say and what I would love to offer whoever's asking this. I get it. Like, I don't work, we don't have a home. Like, that's kind of the situation that we're in. So I want to just preface this that I'm coming at it from an angle where I get the weight of like raising your children and what's the best thing for them. But when you say that they're heavy and then you're putting all this unnecessary pressure, I actually think that's putting you in a position where it's making it even harder for yourself. And what I know is that when there's big decisions, I don't say that there's a right or a wrong decision. I will make decisions based on the information that I have with the position that I'm in, and I'm making the best decision with the best information that I have in front of me. So then there's not a right or a wrong, and I'm like removing the pressure of like, I'll fuck this up, I'm gonna mess this up, but just like, okay, I'm gonna do the best that I can with what I have. And again, it often doesn't make sense on paper. So try to remove the amount of pressure that you're putting on yourself. And I get that. It's easier said than done. But also, when you are stepping into big decisions, if you're like, oh, holding back and kind of scared and not giving it your all, you're not going to bring your best to that. So there's a big difference there about how you show up in your decision making.
Yes. Um, I agree with that. And I also think that I was talking to my friend about this around, she's a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist. And I think a lot of people that are in our communities are the same way, right?
Totally.
Just like, so it's okay to be messy in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like you said, you just have to do it. Like, it's not like, She talked about an application that she's putting into for med school, and she's like, I had to, like, instead of holding myself back, I just had to put it on paper, and then I can do this stuff to fix it later. Like, do you know
And
what I mean?
and that's just it, where she was like, I'm going to go all in, even though it doesn't make sense. And I'll use this example. I needed to build a new website for my speaking platform and portfolio, and we didn't have the funds for it, and we had to put it on a credit card that was already pretty close to maxed out. Let me clarify so people know, like, there is big pressure where you're like, and trust me, I've been in the position where you're like, God, are we going to make the mortgage payment because it's coming out? And like, I'm like, God, it is 4 p.m. I need some funds to land in the account
Yes.
today, or else this is going to bounce. And guess what? It has bounced before. So, like, newsflash. Now, I'm living, I'm fine, I'm upright. Like, is that how I want to operate? No. But I've always been able to figure it out. And so you have to
Mm.
trust yourself, but then go fully in. And what I've realized is stop looking for the evidence of why it won't work and start looking for the evidence of why it will work, so that your brain is looking for it. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between like actual situations and thoughts. So then when you're guiding your brain to look for the evidence of what will work or what won't work, it will go there. And that has just been such a game changer. So we made this decision. It didn't make sense. It felt really heavy. It felt really risky. But both my husband and I had the belief that like this was the next investment we had to make, even though it didn't all come together. It didn't all make sense. It was like putting us in a really tight position financially. And I will tell you, it has paid off tenfold.
There you go.
Mhm.
Exactly. Somebody in the chat was asking this question.
Mhm.
How can I tell the difference between a nudge and listening to my inner red flag warning signals and pushing through fear?
I love it. The question is like, are those just any negative thoughts and are they true? Or is it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of fear and anxiety speaking? So like you have an
Right.
edge or you have an idea, but then it's like, well, what if I fail? What if my friends think and like it doesn't really make sense? And are those just thoughts or are there's actual truth? And if there's actual truth, then maybe start to unpack what some of that means. But like our body is wired. I was in Vancouver and I went to go to the bathroom and it was in a terminal building and it was down a really long hall.
Mm.
And then all of the stalls had these like long doors so you couldn't really see. And I walked in there and I'm telling you, I'd had to go to the bathroom for a very long time. Like I was like inches. I've had 3 kids, so my bladder control is not where it needs to be.
Yeah,
And
I hear you.
some and something inside of me said, get the fuck out of this bathroom. To this day, I didn't stay around to see what it said. Like, those are warning signals. That wasn't just like, oh, you're being crazy. There was like, you could feel the red flags.
Yes.
Those are true red flags. That means run for it. Your body is designed to do that. Now, are there red flags when it's like, oh man, I got to send this scary email? No, that's just your body being like, oh my gosh, we've never done this. What if it doesn't work out? So, like, I would put yourself in that situation. Hey, is this a red flag and this is dangerous and this is unsafe? Or is this scary and I haven't done it before? Those are very different things. You get a nudge, trust it.
Oh, I just really love that. It's just, that is such great examples. Awesome.
I'd also like to preface that I'm not drinking white wine. This is kombucha. So that people don't think that I'm boozing in the middle of my afternoon.
It's 109 in Calgary, people. All right. How can we make time for little joys when we need to hustle before the holidays? Oh boy.
So
It's like
first off,
Christmas is not coming that soon.
I know. I was like, shit. Okay, first off, why are you hustling? So
Mm,
I think like people are like be part of the hustlers club. And again, this is all about language and then how you define it. Just like how I define joy, how I define resiliency. You can define hustle in a way that works for you. But when I think about hustle, sometimes I think about striving harder than we have to. Now, there's a difference about like working hard. And what I would say, what's the question again? The question is how do
how
you
can we make time for little joys when we need to hustle?
so
Mm,
one, I don't think you need to hustle anywhere. I think you just need to get clear on your vision and then show up with relentless belief and take consistent action on it. And it's not about hustling, it's just about being smart and strategic and saying yes to the right things. And then probably having to say no to a lot of stuff that isn't serving you and moving the needle in your business. Stop trying to people please. And number two is it's
that's
like you
good.
don't make more time. You just choose to use your time wisely. And for me, the little joys are like a friggin' dance party. Taking my kid, I don't take my kids to school every day. So for me, that is something like I'm like, oh, I gotta take my kids. When I'm here and I can do it, I'm like, let's rock and roll, let's party out, like let's listen to a punk song. And it's like, stop looking for joy in these massive moments and start creating it in the pockets. The pocket is the dance party. The pocket is everyone rocking out to a song. The pocket is taking 5 minutes to go to the park and act like a silly monkey. The pocket is laughing. And I think you
Yeah.
just have to get really good at where you are wasting your time, because I do it too. I'm guilty of it. So stop wasting your time and like look at like, hey, is this thing moving the needle and is it bringing me joy? And if the answer is no, then freaking change it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Jessica, I'm going to read this. We read this in the podcast episode, but I just want
Yeah.
to read this part of your book because you say, stop answering how you're doing. When somebody says how you're doing with
Mm-hmm.
busy, I'm so busy.
Mm-hmm.
Busyness is not a state of your heart. Busyness is a byproduct of how you planned or didn't plan your day, week, or year. Turn off the TV, stop scrolling and watching other people's accomplishments that make you jealous, and take action. Good.
I had to do that this summer. I got into a downward spiral where I saw all of my speaker friends crushing it, living all these big lives. And all I would do is I would sit on my phone for hours, and it's embarrassing to admit that. And I would just sit there and be like, their life is so good. They're being way much better. I was like, stop looking at their shit. Focus on your own. And I bet you if you spent the 2 to 3 hours that you wasted looking at what other people do, you could actually make some like needle moving decisions and take some bigger risks and do the things that you wanted to do instead of being so focused on somebody else's lane.
Yes.
I had this conversation with my best friend last night, and she's like, yeah, we've been really busy. I'm like, you know, I hate when people say busy. And she's like, I know you hate when people say they're busy. I'm like, your life isn't busy. You've intentionally made it full. You chose to have a bunch of friggin' kids. She has a lot of kids. You've
Yeah.
chosen to do, you've chosen to do these things. And so just lean in. It's like full and abundant. And when you look at your life, because busy feels chaotic and out of control, when you look at your life as like full and abundant, all of a sudden I just feel a little bit more at
Oh,
ease.
I really like that. Your life is full and abundant, and you made the choice.
Yeah.
Like exactly. Lean in. Lean in. I love
Lean
that. Lean
in.
in.
Lean
That
in.
is good. So, what is your perspective on money and its impact on joy? You know what? I just want to say this,
Hmm.
okay? I fucking love money. I love money. Of course, I love money. I hope we all love money. Like,
Hmm.
why wouldn't money give you joy? I mean, I just think if there's a lack mentality, you're going to have more lack. But I just like bring it on, bring it in.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my perspective on money.
All I'm going to say is sing it, sister. So here's the thing. The amount of money in my bank account does not determine the joy that
No.
my joy meter. However, let me say, it's a hell of a lot easier when you're not like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Oh my gosh, groceries were $900 this week, and
Yeah.
I still need to go do one more order from Instacart or whatever. Like, I get that. And when you let external circumstances directly impact things that are in your control, like it's like for me, I'm like, okay, here's my check meter. I got the loved ones. I'm working in purpose, on purpose. I love my life. I love what I get to do. And I'm like, yeah, there's some days that I have like an overdraft in my bank account. It doesn't mean that it robs me of joy. And what I will say is I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to be one of the women that is wealthy beyond belief, that can write checks to fill the gaps and to empower other women. So I am striving to blow up my business in the biggest way possible so I can give room for more women to get on stages, to go pursue their dreams, to build charities, and to do epic work. So bring it on.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. How can I balance honoring my difficult emotions while still inviting joy into my life?
So I hate balance. I think it's the dumbest word in the, in the English dictionary. And so
Yeah,
whenever, and
like, yeah, what is
yeah,
balance
well,
anyway?
exactly. And so, okay, I don't know how old you are, but I think we're similar ages.
I'm
And
47.
maybe, okay, I'm 40. So we grew up in the 80s. But do you remember the teeter-totters that were on the playground where it was like
Oh, they're
just like
just
the metal?
ridiculous. You get
Yes.
on that thing and it wasn't even fun.
No, it was dangerous. But do you remember if you and like your best friend achieved like the perfect
Yeah.
balance? So you and your best friend are on it, and then all of a sudden you're like, don't. don't move. And you have to freeze your legs and then freeze this. And why I say
Yeah.
that is when we are trying to achieve balance, you make no room to ebb and flow through life. You make no room to have more joy or to have a dip. And so when I talk about like, okay, how do you honor those feelings? Like, how do you walk through grief and allow joy? Is one is stop trying to have it perfectly balanced, because you will be frozen in time and you won't be able to have capacity for anything else. Like, it's okay to let it flow. You will have mountaintop moments and then you will be in the pit of hell. And you can have the most joyful moments and you can also be grieving in the same day. And I
Mm.
remember going out with my best friend. Lewiston was in the hospital. We had probably just gotten the diagnosis 3 or 4 weeks earlier. And my friends took me out, and there was a GoFundMe account going, and I had all of this guilt that I couldn't be seen out in public enjoying drinks with my girlfriends because my kid was dying and there was this GoFundMe account and I should be at the hospital,
Right.
like just grieving and everything's a disaster. And I literally sat at that dinner, and I have a picture on my phone, and when it pops up in my memories, I was like, whoa, how messed up is that? I was like, oh, are people going to think I'm having a good time? Are people, and I was so worried about what other people were
Right.
thinking. And now looking back on that, it was like, man, imagine not being present with your friends when it was like, yeah, I had just experienced the worst news a mother could have received. Yeah, I was in the depths of despair. But how blessed was I that I had friends that said, hey, we're going to take care of dinner. We're going to go have a couple glasses of wine. You're going to drop your
Yes.
shoulders and we're just going to love on you and celebrate you. And that's where I think you can see you can have the hardest thing happen and you can also just be surrounded by love and light. And so just removing what anyone else thinks about, removing other people's opinions, and just allowing yourself to not feel like you have to have this all balanced, but that you can just flow through these emotions and you can go from and these amazing experiences to, oh man, this is really hard and I'm just in a shitstorm. And that has brought me a lot of peace.
Like all in one day, like you
Yeah.
said. Yep. Yep. I love it. So this actually just, I think this just ties into what you just said, Jessica.
Mhm.
I'm grieving the loss of someone close to me. How can I allow myself to experience moments of joy without guilt? That's exactly what you just said.
And it's
Just allow it.
it is
Allow it.
allow give yourself permission. And the biggest thing that I think that holds people back
Mm.
is that we're worried what other people will think. Like, oh, I have to grieve, or I have to look so sad, or like, what if people go in public and they see them looking good, or I'm laughing? And it's like, okay, don't care. If you need to be sad today, be sad. You're allowed. Give yourself permission. If you want to be happy and joyful and on top of the world and go for a hike and you're just filled with gratitude and joy and it's busting out the seams, go be that person. But it doesn't mean that you haven't had a hard day. It doesn't mean that you're not okay. It just means that you're in that moment. And so allow and honor those feelings.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking of a time when my son was in the hospital for 4 months. He
Mhm.
was very, very sick. And my brother was in town. He flew to Vancouver
Yeah.
and he was like, Robin, I bought 2 tickets for tonight's. It was the Cirque du Soleil.
Yes.
I want you to come.
Hmm.
Okay. And I like in that moment, I was like, oh, this doesn't seem right. Like, this is
Yeah.
exactly what was going on with me. I'm like, my son's in the hospital. It's not right for me to go and have this fun time at Cirque du Soleil. And he
Hmm.
was like, no, let's go. And it was the best medicine that I could have. Like, we laughed and had the best time. And it's a memory that I'll treasure because I had that time with my brother and I needed that laughter. And it's
You,
it's important.
and you don't always have to keep fighting just because that's what was expected of you. Like, what if you going to Cirque du Soleil was the fuel, the refill that you needed in
I
your
needed
tank
it.
so that you could be the best version of yourself to best take care of your son? Because a watered down, exhausted, burnt out, jaded, frustrated, has nothing left in her tank mom is not the mom that your son needs. And so, like,
Exactly.
give yourself permission. It's okay to fill up your tank. It's not selfish, it's smart.
Exactly.
Mhm.
What practices can help me stay connected to joy during a difficult breakup? Maybe just practices to stay connected to joy in really hard times, period.
I mean, my thought goes to like go to the rage room and then smash a bunch of stuff so you can let out your hurt and
I've
anger.
never been
But
to a rage room, but okay. Oh,
I mean, so it is amazing. And also, I invited one of my clients to it, and she had dealt with a bunch of abuse. And she goes, actually, this isn't good for me because it brings up some trauma. So I'm always aware that like this isn't a solution for everyone. For me, that, you know, I was fortunate to grow up in a really healthy home. You know, when you're just like, oh, I just want to rip someone's head off, or I just want to smash something with a baseball bat. That's what a rage room is.
Yep.
And if you've never done it, it is very healing for the soul. Um, what I would say is to stay connected to joy is you got to stay in your healthy habits. So the things that you
Yes.
know
Yes.
help benefit you both mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally, those things do not waver. And like allow yourself to feel the feels. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to feel lost and lonely. But when you keep feeling all of those things and you're not actively doing anything to keep your mind healthy, to keep your heart healthy, to keep your body physically healthy. So if you want to stay connected to joy, I say take care of yourself. Eat the greens, go work out, get connected. And if you're feeling lonely, one of the best places that I think you can connect with people is in group fitness. There is absolutely
Yes.
nothing like walking into a fitness studio, and it doesn't just magically happen in the first class. It sounds like, oh my gosh, you're new here and we're going to be friends and you're awesome. And because you do fitness, I do fitness and we're going to be besties. But if you can stay consistent, and this is why I talk so much about consistency, if you stay consistent in that pursuit of joy and taking care of your health, I wonder what new relationships are possible in your life. And some of my best friendships have come from group fitness class. And I think it's one of the best ways we can take care of ourselves, both from a mental and physical standpoint.
Oh my gosh, I completely wholeheartedly agree. I
Yeah.
love it because you leave like you're there taking care of yourself. You're all doing the thing, and then you feel amazing
Like-minded
after.
people.
Yep,
Yes.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It's huge.
What, or sorry, how can I learn to recognize and celebrate moments of joy that might be subtle or easily overlooked in my day-to-day life? How can I learn to recognize and celebrate moments of joy that might be subtle?
Start getting specific with your gratitude practice. So when I'm teaching clients about, you know, they come to me and, you know, for they're running their businesses and they're, you know, um, executives in big companies and they're serving and giving everything to other people. And lots of times people are like, man, my joy meter is low.
Mm.
And what I always say to other people is like, okay, cool. Well, let's start working on that. And, you know, well, what brings you joy? And people are like, I don't know. And that's
Uh,
when I say, like, start to look for the joy starter. So, this for me was a practice in my world that I just started observing the joy starters. And I don't have it here, but I have a favorite mug that I drink coffee out of.
mhm.
And, like, for me, that just sparks joy. It's like this handcrafted by a local potter. Her name's Leanne Dubray. She's like the best human. Her mugs are just chef's kiss. Coffee tastes so good out of them. And I was like, start looking for the little moments of gratitude in your
Yes.
day that shift your heart. And so when people practice gratitude, often if you're a newbie to gratitude, I'm thankful for my health, I'm thankful for my home, I'm thankful for my family. Okay, cool. But
And
then
then
like
you're
your
done,
family pisses.
like right
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
yeah. So then we do this with my kids. We do what are three things? And I said, okay, we'll get very specific. And then my daughter's like, oh, I'm so grateful that today in choir class, Mrs. Clausen asked me to lead the warm up. And so then like you're starting to get like really
Mm.
specific in those moments. And for me, it was like, oh man, I'm so grateful when my friend checked in on me at 3 p.m. today because I was actually kind of feeling low, and getting a text from a friend, like had so much impact in my life. And so when you start to get very specific, you start to tune your brain into evidence.
Mhm.
And so when you're tuned into the evidence, you can actually rewire your brain for joy. You can rewire your brain for gratitude. And so your default setting could be like, oh, everything's wrong. But then it just causes you to start looking for the moments of joy. And they're small. But the more that you start to recognize those moments, it
Excuse
compounds.
me.
Bless your dear soul. Then that compounds, and then your brain is like, where was the joy? Oh my gosh, the joy in this week. Oh, when we had that good laugh. Oh, that awesome meal. Oh, the time that we had that random dance party. Oh, when this got done and it got delivered. And those small moments will change and impact everything. And Jess Irwin, who's just commented here, is the friend that I was exactly talking about. She checked in on me yesterday at 3 o'clock when I was about to hit a lull. I was like, that was one of my joy starters. A friend checking in, knowing that like I had had a rough day, knowing that things were tough. And that's when you have the evidence, and then you can start to see that, and your brain recognizes it, and the default setting changes, which is brilliant.
Yes, I love it. Looking for every, like, I think about my coffee, and like I dream about, like, in the morning I'm waking up just having my little chocolate scoop in my coffee. It's
Yes.
just like, yes, yes, and creating more of those joy starters.
Hmm. And that's part of what I tell people is like, stop looking for them. Like I talk, like that was the title, bring the joy. Like no one was like, oh, here are your
Create
fun
it.
stuff. Like
Yep.
here's all the joy options. Like this is where it's like, no, welcome to the world, people. It's hard and it's tough, but it's also awesome and beautiful and amazing. So roll up your sleeves and commit to doing it. And for me, I'm like, sometimes there might not feel like joy. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to bring the dang joy. And part of that is just my energy and my attitude. And you hope that that trickles. But start looking for the evidence, start a gratitude practice, 3 things. And when you go to bed at night, ask yourself, what worked today? What was awesome about today?
Mm.
And
Yes.
if you look, you will find it. And then your brain will go to bed with that peace and that knowledge that, man, there was some goodness that happened today, even if it was tough, even if it didn't go the way you wanted it to.
Yes. What worked today? I really like that. How can I use acts of kindness or service to others as a way to bring more joy to my own life? This is,
Give
I,
gen
go ahead.
I was going to say, give generously, don't keep score. It's a foundational pillar of the Impact 11 speaking community that I'm a part of. Give generously, expect nothing. That would be how I would word it. But um,
Mm.
are they really acts of kindness if you're giving? And I mean, I dealt with this with my therapist where she's like, no, that's transactional.
Uh,
And I was like, oh, right. So are your acts of kindness true acts of kindness where you're just genuinely showing up because you want to serve? Or are you doing them because you expect something back? And maybe that's subtly, maybe it's big. But when I go deliver a meal to someone's house, when I go do something small, I don't need anything. I don't need an Instagram shout out. I don't need you to pat me on the back. I don't need you to pay me back. Like if I'm going to give something, truly give it, it means that you're giving with zero expectations, and that for me changed everything. And so I'll give a smile, I'll hold open a door, I'll let someone take a parking spot and not be like, well, I did this, so you should do that. And I'm just curious if you applied that, how differently your heart would feel when you're navigating that.
wow. Like giving from purity. It's not, there's no expectation in return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, so like, do you recall the example of where your therapist said, no, that's transactional? Just
hmm
curious.
I do. And it's so fresh. Otherwise, I would totally share it. But I literally had
Yeah.
this call with her yesterday. And my rule of thumb is like, I don't share wounds that are open and oozing. So but
Oh, that's good. I like
and
that
that was
rule.
a rule of thumb just because my life is public and I have a public profile. And so to protect my
Yes.
family, to protect my marriage, and to protect my own mental health. But it was really interesting because I wanted to share something. And then I was like, well, because I did this, then I was hoping for that, was essentially what I was saying. I wasn't saying those words out loud, but she was like, you've now made what you're trying to say transactional,
Mm.
and it actually isn't transactional. And I think just
Wow.
like having a perspective of like, hey, am I doing this just because I want to do it and show up and I love them and I want them to know that they're seen, felt, and
Right.
like cared for? Or am I doing this because I hope that they'll be my friend, or I'll hope that they'll do this thing for me?
Or they'll
And even
respond
in
in this way, like you're
exactly,
wanting to control the behavior of the other person.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, totally.
really like that. Okay, Jessica, tell us what you are. Thank you so much for your time. But I
Yeah.
just also just wanted to, for people that don't, that are not like following you, and like tell us where, like, how do people know more about you and learn more?
So follow me on social media. That's probably the easiest way. I'm here on Instagram. I love the platform. Share a bit of my day to day and, share kind of what I'm working on. And I'm happy to share my goals out loud because I love inspiring other people to go after their goals. And it also helps keep me accountable. My website is a great resource. It's just jessicajansen.ca. You can find all the things there, speaking and coaching. Those are the 2 main areas of my business where I'm happy to be on your stage or leading a workshop, as well as I take one-on-one coaching clients. And we've got some fun things in the work for 2025. So I would say stay tuned for that. And please reach out if I can serve you in any way. My heart is to serve and help people and to use my story and message to help lift others up. And like I said, bring the dang joy.
Well, you're doing it. And I loved your book. I know we just talked about it in the podcast. This book is so amazing. Everybody, I really hope you all read it. It's just, I cried, I laughed, and it's just Awesome. So
And it's
thank you, Jessica.
super easy. Go find it on Amazon. That is
Yes,
directly supporting me. So, yeah, check it out on Amazon. It's also on Audible if you're more of an audio girl or guy. So I'd love for you to take a listen and please reach out. I'm here to serve. Thank you for having me. It was so good to connect with you, Robin. I can't wait to chat again soon.
we will. Bye, everybody. Thank you again. Bye.